Most plants die the moment you take their soil away. Pull them out of the ground, strip their roots bare, leave them with nothing beneath them. And within days, they're gone. But there is a small group of plants that completely breaks that rule. These plants were never built for soil. Some of them grow in plain water, some grow on bare tree bark, some hang from branches in open air and eat whatever drifts to them on the wind. And one of them, the last one on this list, lives on almost nothing at all. Yet every single one of them is alive. Thriving. Quietly proving that the rules most plants follow were never rules at all. These are 10 plants that don't need soil to survive, and the story of how they do it is far more surprising than you'd expect. Here is something most people never think about. Soil does 3 jobs for a plant. It holds water close to the roots. It stores nutrients the plant needs to grow. And it gives the roots something to grip so the whole plant doesn't fall over. 3 jobs. That's it. Now here is the interesting part. Every plant on this list found a completely different way to get all 3 of those things done. Not by cheating. Not by being weaker versions of normal plants. But by building smarter systems. Systems that, in some cases, work even better than soil. We go from the most familiar to the most unbelievable. Starting here. Plant number 1. Pothos. Most people know Pothos as that green trailing plant that refuses to die. Leave it in a dark corner for weeks. Forget to water it. Knock it off a shelf. It keeps going. But the thing almost nobody knows about Pothos is what happens when you drop a cutting into a jar of plain water. It doesn't just survive. It switches. The roots that Pothos grows in water look completely different from its soil roots. Soil roots are thick and tough, they're built to grip and dig. Water roots are long, pale, almost like fine white threads, built to drink directly from the liquid around them. Same plant. Different roots. Decided entirely by what it was given. What this means in practice: drop a Pothos cutting in water, place it on any shelf, even in a room without much light, and it just keeps growing. Indefinitely. No soil needed, no repotting, no mess. Just water, changed every couple of weeks. It is genuinely one of the easiest living things to keep alive on Earth. Plant number 2. Lucky bamboo. Lucky bamboo has been growing in water for over 4,000 years. And that number matters because 4,000 years ago, nobody had science, no laboratories, no plant research. There were just farmers in ancient China who noticed something unusual. This plant, placed in water with some pebbles to hold it upright, did not die. It kept growing. Beautifully. 4 years. So they kept doing it. What they had discovered, without knowing the science, is that lucky bamboo pulls everything it needs, all the minerals, all the nutrition, directly from the water around its roots. No soil required. The pebbles are not for decoration. They do the same job soil does mechanically. They hold the stem upright and keep the roots spaced so air can reach them. 4,000 years later, you can recreate the exact same setup in any glass jar with pebbles from a dollar store. Change the water every 2 to 3 weeks. Keep it out of direct sunlight. Lucky bamboo actually prefers low light. And it will sit there, looking clean and elegant, without asking for anything else. Plant number 3. Spider plant. Spider plants do something unusual before they even touch the water. Those little baby plants that hang off the long arching stems, the spinnerets, they already have root nubs forming while they are still in midair. Before they have touched water. Before they have touched soil. Before they have any reason to believe a growing surface is coming. They come pre-prepared. Place one of those babies in a glass of water and it roots within days. Faster than almost any other plant. The spider plant does not wait for good conditions to get ready. It gets ready first, then waits for conditions. In water, it grows cleanly and steadily. The thick white roots look beautiful in a clear container. Change the water every week. Keep it out of direct harsh sun and the tips stay green and healthy. And because every mother plant produces dozens of babies every year, you can fill an entire room with spider plants, all from one original cutting, at almost no cost. Plant number 4. Chinese evergreen. Chinese evergreen is the slow and steady one. Most plants that you move from soil to water will eventually slow down and stop. They adapt for a while, then hit a wall. Chinese evergreen just keeps going. There are plants living in the same water containers, nothing added but fresh water and an occasional drop of diluted fertilizer for 3, 4, even 5 years. Still producing new leaves. Still healthy. What happens over that time is unusual. The roots get better at living in water the longer they stay in it. Early on, they are simple and basic. A year in, they have developed so many fine absorptive hairs that they are pulling nutrients from the water almost as efficiently as they would from soil. The plant rewires itself. Slowly. Quietly. Over years. It is not dramatic. But it is genuinely extraordinary if you think about what is happening. For care, simply keep it in water, change that water every couple of weeks, and place it somewhere with low to medium light. Chinese evergreens are one of the few plants that genuinely prefer low light. Brighter conditions actually stress them. Dark office. Windowless bathroom. Dim hallway. Perfect conditions. Plant number 5. Philodendron. In a rainforest, a young philodendron does something that looks like a mistake. It sprouts in deep shade far from any light, and instead of reaching toward brightness, it moves toward the darkest spot it can find. Which is the base of a large tree. Because the darkest spot at ground level is always directly below the biggest trees. And the biggest trees are the ones with trunks tall enough to climb toward light. The philodendron is not moving toward the dark. It is navigating. As it climbs, its roots stop being about soil altogether. They grip bark. They pull moisture from the humid air. They absorb nutrients from tiny patches of decaying leaves caught in tree crevices. By the time it reaches the canopy, the philodendron has been free of the ground for most of its life. In a water jar at home, those same roots behave exactly as they do in the wild, spreading, exploring, filling every bit of available space. Long white tendrils that look almost like they're searching. Because they are. That is what they were built to do. Plant number 6. Monstera. The holes in a Monstera leaf confuse a lot of people. They look like something ate through them. Or like the plant is damaged. They are not damage. They are a design decision. In a dense tropical forest, the biggest threat to a large-leafed plant is wind. A solid leaf that size catches wind like a sail, it would snap the stem. The holes let wind pass straight through, so the leaf bends gently instead of tearing. Maximum surface area for catching light. Minimum resistance to wind. That is engineering. And the same creativity shows up in how Monstera handles soil. In the wild, it does not rely on ground soil at all. It grows up tree trunks, hanging its roots down through open air toward moisture far below, sometimes traveling several feet through nothing but air to find water. In a water container at home, Monstera produces thick, rope-like roots that fill the space with visible confidence. The plant knows what to do without soil. It has always known. Keep the roots submerged, the container clean, and give it indirect light. The iconic split leaves keep coming, one after another, whether there is soil beneath them or not. Plant number 7. Orchid. Here is the most surprising thing about orchids. There are around 30,000 species of them on Earth. And the majority have never lived in soil. Not once. In any point in their evolutionary history. They grow on tree bark. On rock faces. On the sides of cliff walls. Using their host purely as a surface to grip, taking nothing from it, parasitizing nothing. Their roots are wrapped in a tissue that works like a sponge. When rain comes, that tissue inflates in seconds, capturing and storing water before it can evaporate. When it dries out, the tissue contracts and seals, holding moisture inside. This system is more efficient than soil at capturing and retaining water. Which is exactly why it evolved. At home, orchids do not want potting soil. They want bark chips, or moss, or just open air around their roots. Burying orchid roots in dense soil actually suffocates them. What looks like the wrong way to pot a plant is, for an orchid, the only correct way. Plant number 8. Water hyacinth. Water hyacinth floats. Not occasionally. Permanently. Its entire life is spent on the surface of open water, roots hanging freely below, never touching the bottom, never gripping anything. Just drifting. Absorbing whatever the water around it contains. And it does this extraordinarily well. Under warm conditions, a patch of water hyacinth can double in size every 2 weeks. It spreads across lake surfaces, blocking sunlight beneath the water, depleting oxygen, shutting down the ecosystems below. In some parts of Africa and Asia, it has closed entire waterways. But here is the unexpected part. Those same roots that make it so aggressive at spreading are also remarkably efficient at absorbing pollutants. Heavy metals. Industrial chemicals. Agricultural runoff. Researchers are now using water hyacinth intentionally to clean contaminated water bodies, letting the plant do in days what filtration systems take months to achieve. The most troublesome floating plant on Earth is also, quietly, one of its most useful natural filters. Plant number 9. Spanish moss. Spanish moss is not a moss. It is not a lichen. It has nothing to do with Spain either, for that matter. It is a bromeliad, a distant relative of the pineapple, and it has been living in open air for millions of years with no roots, no soil, and no connection to the ground beneath it. Every strand is covered in microscopic scales. Tiny, overlapping, almost invisible to the naked eye. When humidity rises, when rain falls or morning mist moves through, those scales open and pull water vapor directly from the air. When conditions dry out, they close and seal, holding the moisture inside. Nutrients arrive the same way. Dust-carrying mineral particles. Dead organic material drifting on wind from miles away. The scales catch it, absorb it, and the plant processes it. The tree it hangs from gives it absolutely nothing but a place to rest. Everything else, every drop of water, every nutrient, every molecule this plant needs to grow comes from the open sky. Plant number 10. Air plant. And then there is this. 650 species of plants that grow on bare rock, on telephone wires, on the dead branches of trees that have been gone for decades. No water nearby. No organic matter. No soil. No host providing anything useful. Just a surface to grip and whatever moves through the air. The air plant Tillandsia has leaves covered so densely in those same moisture-capturing scales that in many species, the leaves look silver or white. That color is not a pigment. It is the texture of millions of microscopic scales, packed so tightly across every leaf surface that light reflects off them like fine mesh. When moisture touches the leaf, any moisture, even high humidity on a dry day, every scale opens simultaneously across the entire plant. Water enters. The scales seal shut. Locked inside before the air can take it back. Nutrients the same way. Dust particles. Airborne debris. Whatever dissolves in whatever moisture arrives. The roots on the species that even have them do exactly one thing. They grip. No feeding. No drinking. No nutrient intake of any kind. Just grip. Everything this plant consumes, it consumes through its leaves. Everything it drinks from open air. And once a year, after months or sometimes years of quiet, invisible survival, a single bloom appears from the center of the plant. Bright red. Deep purple. Burning orange. A flower that calls in hummingbirds and specialist moths from the surrounding area. After pollination, seeds form, each one attached to a fine silken thread, light enough to be carried miles on a gentle breeze. Those seeds land on bare wire. On rock. On the side of a concrete wall. And they start again. With nothing but air and patience. 10 plants. 10 completely different solutions to the same challenge. And the thing they all have in common is this: none of them waited for perfect conditions. They took what was available. Water, bark, open air, passing wind, and built something that worked. The pothos rebuilt its own roots. The orchid grew a moisture trap more efficient than soil. The air plant turned the surface of its leaves into a feeding system capable of working on a bare desert cliff. None of them needed soil. They needed a surface and a reason to keep going. There is something quietly remarkable about that. Plants that were told by every rule of biology that they should not be able to survive where they are. And simply did not listen. If this changed the way you think about plant, subscribe to this channel. Next, we're going inside the forest floor. Underneath every healthy forest on Earth, there is an underground network connecting the roots of thousands of trees, letting them share food, send warnings, and support each other through difficult seasons. It looks less like nature and more like the internet. Subscribe so you don't miss it. And if you want to try growing any of these 10 plants at home without soil, drop a comment below. A practical follow-up video is coming if enough of you ask for it. See you next time.